City won the treble and everyone wants to leave, apparently. Second time lucky there. I accidentally undid the mic. But anyway, yes, City won the treble and everyone wants to leave, apparently. Just sat there, minding my own business. Having my dinner with the wife and the family, eating chicken pie, just cracking on and cracking on. And then all of a sudden, I just browse on my phone and I see City Report tweet about Mahrez agreeing a deal to leave and join a Saudi team. I'm like... what's going on? Why does everyone want to leave? To be honest, in this one with Mahrez, I don't blame him, man. This is an awful lot of money potentially for a player who's getting on a tiny bit. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. I agree with Tone on this one. It's crazy. City with the treble now. We've got no players left. Indeed, by the way, I hope you're all not bored of that intro yet, because I'm going to be doing it for the next 300. When's the season end? About 300 days? I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm going to carry on doing it, because you better believe it. So here's the story. I saw it on Twitter, and it says, Riyad Mahrez has reached a full agreement to join Al-Ahli. He will sign a contract with the Saudi club after passing a medal, as per this fella, who is... Well, he's got 900,000 followers. They have 900,000 followers. I don't know who they are, much about them, but I've seen people say this is the official account of Al-Riyad newspaper, Saudi newspaper, specialised in local international sports news. It's a big one. It's a big source over there, apparently. Some people have said it's reliable. I don't know how reliable it is, but I think there's probably something in this. I wouldn't be surprised if this stuff is leaked to the press. Also... Fabrizio Romano, if you're more of a Fabrizio kind of guy for your credibility, let me jump over to Fabrizio. Your man Fab has also posted about it too. He said Al-Ahli are pushing to get Riyad Mahrez deal done. Talks advancing on player size this June as he's prepared to accept Al-Ahli bid. The City are still waiting to get official proposal and documents. Key stage for booking medical. It'll be discussed next week. So it's all kicking off, basically. It's all kicking off, and it looks like we could be about to lose our winger, our right winger, our 20 goal a season right winger. No, wife. I did say. Oh, you forgot him. Sorry, Nicola. The wife's just messaged saying she forgot to get towels. She's doing Ruben's bath right now in the chat. You can see. Unfortunately, I'm sort of locked in here. I can't really help wife. I've got to go in. I feel like this is the kind of play that you can't not replace. Can you turn that down, by the way? Nicola? She's basically playing my video out loud, which is really distracting because it's on loop. I can hear myself in the background. Anyway, that massively distracting thing out of the way now. Riyad Mahrez, I think there's something in this. Sorry about the shouting with the family thing there, but she's literally the room below me playing the video back. But I think there's something in this. I think Riyad Mahrez, look, to be honest, I don't mind him leaving as long as Manchester City replace him. It's really as simple as that. It's really as simple as that. I feel like there's an element of City accepting that some players want to move on. I think in this deal, there's an understanding that there's a real push from Mahrez' side. Potentially, there might be a push from Mahrez' side to get him to go. And given he's 32 years old, is he 32 years old now? Is he 32? Let me just double check his age. He's not young anyway. He's 32 years old. He'll be 33 in February. He's 32 years old. He's just won a treble. He wasn't a guaranteed start at the end of the season, and I think that sort of hit his pride a tiny bit. This will be a massive payday, and City might think, well, that's it, really. We're going to have to let him go because he might want to go. So, Masoud Pervez with this super chat says, do you think City will be able to replace players? I think they will be able to. I think they'll be able to replace him, yeah. I think there'll be something. There'll be an option somewhere that we'll go for. Personally, I think you have to replace him. Look, I'm a big fan of youth integration and development. I've been talking an awful long time about giving young players a chance, and I do believe that young players should get a chance, but I don't always think that they should, you should just fully get rid of a key senior player and put a young player in. I feel like they need to be eased in slowly, and I don't think anyone's quite at that stage yet. The way I don't think Rico Lewis is quite at the stage to replace Kyle Walker because he needs a little bit more time. I don't think McAtee or Palmer are there yet, or Oscar Bob. I think they need a bit more time, because they're not proven yet at Manchester City's level. I'd like to see them all play 20, 30 games regularly for a couple of years before they place Mahrez as a direct starter. And I think that's a fair thing to say. And I want to see a senior player coming. And I do think we can do it, yeah. I do think we can replace him. I don't think we haven't been linked to any wingers yet, simply because I don't think we know if we're going to need one. Like, everyone's panicking, but at the same time, look, I'm willing to give this team the benefit of the doubt always. Like, look, we signed. I remember in 17-18 when the same season we signed Edison, Bernardo Silva, Kyle Walker, Laporte in the same season, obviously Danilo, Mendy as well, but we signed a whole bunch of players in one season and we transformed the team with some smart signings. I'm not saying we're going to spend that money again, but City are very capable of buying a whole bunch of players that can come in and just sort of change the dynamic of the team. And I don't get why people will be down on Pavard, by the way. He's a cracking player. Like, I just don't understand the negativity around Pavard at all. If City go for him, he's a good player. Like, City don't sign bad players. I mean, the odd thing wrong every now and then, but largely, if they're high level, they're going to come in and be good, And it is late in the window, I admit. But I think you have to respond. You simply have to respond. If you lose Mahrez, you cannot go into it with no backup. You have to. He's too good, too senior. And we haven't got any options after that. You think about our winger options, you've got senior ones, Grealish on the left, Foden. But then you've got Bernardo, if he wants to go. And that's it. Foden on the right as well. Well, we can't respond to something that hasn't happened yet, is what I will say to people saying we're not responding. Look, no one had heard of Pavard's name ever until yesterday, and that was a direct response to the Walker news. So that's the point I'm making. There'll be stuff that we just don't know about. There'll be stuff that we don't know about. City will have names for a potential signing if someone goes. Just because they haven't briefed the press yet, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We need to... City are a lot more secretive than most... Pavard was not linked a week ago. That's just not true. It was yesterday that came around. So we need to be basically a little bit patient there. And if we don't, by the way, if we don't replace Mahrez, I think it's a terrible move. So I'm not being some happy clapper. I genuinely will be honest with you. I think City will try and replace him because I think he's too good not to. If we don't do it, I think it would be a shocking... genuinely shocking decision, but we'll see. This causes potential signings. Like, but we know how it works. Like, you see, we all watched that City documentary behind the scenes, and they have the way it works is they've got a spreadsheet for every single position of 10 to 15 targets of tier A, tier B, tier C. A, if you can't get him, then down to tier B or whatever. But that's they have targets for every single position because you never know because Edison could suddenly get an 8-month injury, so they'll have goalkeeper targets lined up just in case. So someone says, "Why are we not targeting Moussa Diaby?" How do you know we're not, mate? I'm not saying. Well, mainly one because we don't feel like we need him, but you never know who we're going to go for. Basically, City aren't sat there going, "What do we do if we need a winger one day?" They've got plans. That's their job to have these ideas. Like City you don't be as good as Man City have been and win as many. Look, we know they had backups because they went for Koulibaly, then they didn't get him. They went for Koundé, didn't get him, and they went for Diaz. We know they have a plan. When they really felt they needed another defender, they got a Kanji last minute. They have plans. We know it. Masuba Vez with a super chat saying, knowing City's transfer policy, not wanting to get any bidding and walking away from deals, I think they will leave too much to do in a short time. Maybe, mate, but at the same time, they might just come in and go, here's a bargain player, get him in, who's available, and get it done. Like, we can only give them the benefit of doubt given the fact they always eventually get it right, and they do. Like, we talk about a squad depth as much as you want, but the squad was enough to win the treble. And you can turn around and go, because that's Pep Guardiola. But at the same time, it's his idea, he wants it. Jerry rightfully saying we can't win the treble every year. In cheeky, I trust. But look, we're not going to win the treble every year. I agree, mate, Jerry. But I don't think everyone's writing off this season already. Like, I don't know how many times I have to say it. Calm until we know. Exactly. Charlotte just said in the chat, you can't replace players who aren't close to leaving. You saw with Walker, as soon as he agreed terms with Bayern, the links with Pavard popped up. Will be the same with Mahrez tomorrow. Maybe Diaby. It will be the same. Look, I guarantee you, if it turns out Mahrez is about to go, all of a sudden links will pop up in the press. Like, City just keep their cards close to the chest because that's who they are. Look, I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. It's just genuinely what I believe because I don't think City are stupid enough to go into the season without Mahrez. I think it would be bad. I think it'd be bad. I think it would be a real bad decision to do. I do think we'll go for. I do think we'll get Vardiol as well. I think we will do. Don't go near Adama Traore, by the way. God, no. I think he's terrible. I can't stand Adama Traore. I hate players who have zero output. Who are all the high intensity with no output. I hate it. I think there is a genuine. I actually agree. I think there is a lack of good wingers around at the moment, Ulster. I do agree with that. I think you got to be creative, but at the same time, no, it's not Grealish, by the way. That Adama Traore is not like Adama Traore just loses the ball. At least Grealish keeps the ball and helps with progression and building play and so on and dictating. And Adama just runs down a blind alley and loses the ball. It's totally different. Like he can't keep the ball, he can't retain it, and he does nothing. He's just a speed runner, and that's it. But yeah, I agree with Ulster. There is a lack of wingers available at the moment. But then maybe we go towards, like, maybe we do it for Leroy, maybe we get him back on a loan or something like that, maybe we pick up an experienced player on a short-term contract until we sign someone. I mean, there is always going to be something. And I'm not telling anyone I've not called anyone a hater, Deshaun, for what it's worth. I haven't mentioned that word at all, so anyone can voice concerns, but I'm just telling my honest opinion about why I think City will have this plan, because they do have it planned, no worries, Deshaun. But I suspect that we will see some breaking news one way or another. I think Mahrez probably will go. I think there's too much in it. I think his pride was hurt a little bit. I honestly think his pride was hurt a tiny bit when he didn't start some of the big games towards the end of the season, and that I understand that. I get it, like you want to start the big games, but he was on the bench behind Bernardo Silva. So we will have to wait and see how it goes. But I do think he'll go, though. I think the City will ask for about 30 million or something like that, because it's the Saudis, because of his age. I don't think we'll get much more than that. And I think he'll get offered 40, 50 million pounds of contract, and I think he'll take it, because it just makes sense for him in many, many ways, God, it'd be nice if there was a 10 p.m. Bombassa tonight, wouldn't it, Morel? It would be nice. And I'm not going to judge the window. Do you know when I judge the transfer window? When it shuts. I know that sounds crazy, but I just judge it when it shuts. Because I remember this time last year and everyone was moaning. I do remember it. Even though we'd signed Haaland, everyone was moaning last year. I remember it. Just because I do it every year, and I have to read all the comments. There's not a single window that goes by without people moaning. So, I mean, we'll go for someone. I mean, I'm reading all your suggestions here. Valverde and so on. And people mentioned Ryan Shirky. Massim Pervez wants Harvey Barnes. He's a good player, Harvey Barnes, by the way. I actually quite rate him. You could have gone for someone like Nonto from Leeds, that like a little explosive winger. Maybe someone like Kingsley Coman becomes available, I'd take him in a heartbeat. He's a quality footballer. There's always going to be someone. There's going to be someone, and City will find potential replacement. Look, if we're being really honest as well, Mahrez is 33 in this coming season. We're going to have to replace Riyad Mahrez, and he already wasn't a guaranteed starter. Like, this isn't breaking information. It might just be a year quicker than we planned. That's it. But Mahrez is clearly on his way out in general. I'd be more panicky if Mahrez is a bit older. I mean, he's the one that you sort of expect to go, and would probably, you look at the names that have been linked to go away, like Walker, Bernardo, Mahrez, Laporte. Mahrez is probably, well, Laporte maybe, but Mahrez is probably the one it's the least damaging, I would say, if you get good money for him. But at the same time, it's that, like, he's good for like 20 to 10, around 25 to 30 goal contributions a season, which is an awful lot. That is the problem there, isn't it? When you've got a guy who gets regularly 15 to 20 goals and 5 to 10 assists a season, that's an awful lot of output to just not replace, basically. So that's the problem we've got. Quality footballer, but it's going to be really hard to replace those numbers. But at the same time, this is always going to be a problem. This is not like we're losing a guy in his prime here. This is a guy already on his way down, probably. Peaked a little bit. I'll have to see how it goes. I honestly, like, look, to me, I don't panic over losing players. I don't know if anyone else has a different view of football to me this way or similar view, but I sort of like seeing new players come in and change. I like change, I just enjoy enjoy seeing the squad refreshed every now and then. Like, I find it interesting. I like new stories, new narratives. I like seeing players come in who want to impress and really force themselves on City. And if a player ever wants to go, at that point, I'm sort of like, just let him go, because the head's not in it. When the head's not in it, you lose an edge. And the teams that win a treble are the ones that have an edge, where every player wants to be there and everyone's focused. And you got one guy pulling away, especially when he's senior and respected. It doesn't work. It just doesn't always work, It ain't good. It isn't a good summer so far in terms of all the... It's all very negative, like missing out on targets and players going. I understand it. I understand the general sense of, negativity, but I would just implore people to wait. Like, the job isn't done. It's like... the amount of times you see a bit of work being done or something, on your house or whatever, you're like, oh, it doesn't look very good. And then it finally is done at the end. You're like, oh, actually, it's quite nice. It's that kind of thing. It's like, just wait until you get the finished product, the window's shut, and then we'll see where we're at. But I'm not going to moan preemptively, It's distressing. I get it. But we'll see. I think everyone... after a treble, wanted to see City spend 300 million quid. I actually did a Twitter thread about this earlier. Like, City didn't have an extra 300 million pounds. I naively sort of followed the press things as well, but it doesn't work that way. We never had an extra 300 million quid, which is where a lot of frustration comes from some fans. Like, I was chatting to someone at the club and so on, and the way the money works is that only a little bit of that 300 million prize money is available, a little bit of it, because City already budget and plan for prize money. They plan based off minimum expectations. They knew, for example, they plan every year to reach at least the Champions League semi-finals, maybe a top couple in the Premier League, maybe a domestic cup. They plan for a certain amount of prize money, and obviously you get more for winning these things, but it's not that much more. And any money that they got more from actually winning it is kind of cut out immediately by the bonuses, and the bonuses that they got from the treble. I know for a fact some of these players got mad bonuses for winning a treble. Like, any profit they got, they probably lost money in some circumstances for actually winning a treble. Like, it's crazy that the money they have to dish out for winning it. But that's life, And so City haven't really had a boost at all financially from winning that. Obviously, the reputational boost is huge, but it's not been a case of loads and loads of money. My mum's ringing me. 1 second. I'm working. Say hello, Mum. There's a mum there. She's probably just popping up to say, cheeky, get on with your job. But it is what it is. Like, we have to be realistic, It's one of those things where I get the frustration, but I don't know. I don't understand. Like, I guess I'm just a reasonable person. Like, the way I see it, Mum, because she play right wing, she's more of a left wing, I would say, in general, my view is that they've done incredible things and they've done the best thing I could ever. They've literally completed football in my eyes. 100 points, formidables, treble. Like, I think they deserve our patience. And I have a very simple view. When people say, like, Cheeky and Varane, everyone are slacking, it's like, I don't think you can slack and be as good as you are. I just don't think you can. I don't think Cheeky can slack because Caldew would go, what you doing? Or Pep would say, what are you doing? I don't think Varane would let him do it because they're just elite people push each other on and motivate each other. So that's how I see it, But it is stressful. I understand it. But I think we've grown used to... 15 years ago, before some of you were even born, we didn't know anything about transfers. We didn't have a rolling stream of news on the internet. So we got a bit of news every day in the back of the papers. And show my old age here, 20 years ago, you'd get some transfer news in the paper, and that's it. And that's what you chat at the pub with your mates for the next couple of days. And then you get a little bit more transfer news in a small bit of the paper, and that'd last you a couple of days, and no one really knew what was going on. Now you've got the rolling 24/7 news cycle, so it's all very stressful because you want updates every 5 minutes because you're impatient. But these things just take time. But we've got such an instant society, so we have to just be a little bit patient because stuff is happening, but we just don't see it, and we like to see it. Too much happy clapping for content creators. Iptris, show some goddamn respect, mate. Seriously, mate, Iptris, stop being a whiny little so-and-so. We've just won a treble. The best football you'll ever see in your lifetime. And you're moaning because in mid-July, we haven't signed the players you want. Give them a chance, for crying out loud. At what point did they deserve your respect? You know what I mean? It's like, so much entitlement. The idea that I'm happy clapping. No, I'm appreciating greatness. Greatness is staring you in the face and you're calling it incompetent. I get so frustrated with people's arrogance. I get the arrogance to presume that you know best and they don't know what they're doing. It's just absolute nonsense. It is. It is. I'm calling it out. It's arrogance and impatience. City aren't stupid. You don't win a treble. You don't win a quadruple. A domestic quadruple. You don't get 100 points by being incompetent. It's not possible. Incompetence is Chelsea. Incompetence is Manchester United for the past 10 years. Incompetence is signing Harry Maguire for £85 million or spending £600 million in one season to finish 12th. That is incompetence. Manchester City aren't incompetent. They are literally treble Champions League winners for 3 leagues in a row. 5 out of the last 6, 100 points, 98 points, domestic quadruple. That is not incompetence. That is supreme excellence. The people who did that, they deserve patience. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. I get so tired of people shitting on City at the first opportunity. We get it so much from every single fan who doesn't support us. So why do we do it to ourselves? Patience. Absolute patience. I mean, like, some perspective is needed. I'm not saying things are perfect always. I'm not saying this is a great situation. But what I am saying is that they've earned a right to be given a little bit of patience because they've just won a treble. Like, it's that simple. And I think people just like to moan and moan and moan and moan. And I tell you what, if come September the 1st, Mahrez is gone and Bernardo's gone and we haven't replaced them, I'll be right there with you going, that is scandalous. But that's a month and a half away. And until that point, I'm not going to say anything because I thought the season was over on January the 31st this year. And 5 months later, we just completed history. Like, do not snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Like, that's what we have a habit of doing as a fan base. And I'm sorry that I'm on my soapbox here a little bit, but I read more of it than I guess most guys because of what I do for a living and so on. But I want perspective, and I want people just to be reasonable. Maybe it's an age thing. I'm 37 years old, so that's in a lot. But I absolutely get frustration and panic. But your anxiety is not reality. That's your stress. That's your problem. That isn't the reality. That's what I will say. Give it time because the teams that go out and sign a whole bunch of players like Chelsea, I bet the Chelsea fans were like, oh yeah, we signed so many players. They came 12th and spent £600 million. They're probably they're already trying to sell some of those players that they spent loads of money on, like Koulibaly and everyone. They're shifting them off. That is not a successful football club. That's idiocy. Success is holding your nerve and making good decisions. Anyway. Like, that's me. My rant is over there. Let's see what happens. We have to replace Mahrez. I agree. It is frustrating that Bernardo wants to go. Laporte wants to go. We lost Gundogan. I agree. And it does feel quiet. But the idea that Cheeky's out like that, just there, scrolling Twitter. No one who gets paid what they do and achieves what they do is sat there doing nothing. That's just not how it works. Excellence demands excellence. And if you're not, you'll be kicked off like the rest of them. That's how it works. Let's see what goes on. Let's see what happens with Mahrez. And let's see what happens with City. Let's moan when we've got a reason to moan. For now, trust the club. Trust Pep. I love you all loads. Have a wonderful Saturday night. I'm going to go and put my son to bed. City won the treble. In a bit, and good night.